Okay, welcome, Reed, to the Biohacker Babies podcast. We are so happy to have you here today.
I'm so pleased to be here, Lauren and Renee. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Yes, this really, truly has been a long time coming because I'm a FDN graduate of 2011. Your program changed my career and it changed my own health. And I found FDN in the midst of a kind of a peak burnout period, going a million miles an hour, teaching health and fitness, but not embodying what I was helping my clients to strive for. And I did have the wherewithal to hit the pause button. And I paused on one of my jobs, there were multiple jobs at the time, hit the pause button and enrolled in the FDN course as a way to fill my time of doing less, which doesn't, quite make sense. But I'm so glad that I did, because it really changed everything. When I discovered the principles of FDN and discovered lab testing, that was the key to unlock so many doors. And it's changed my health and so much of my clients' health. So I have a lot to owe to you, and just so excited to have you talk about FDN. So I'd love to drop in and just hear about your inspiration for creating the program and any kind of background that you want to share.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. And that story is pretty common. FDN is a course in functional lab work as it applies to all natural drug-free therapies. So lab work, but drug-free therapies. And you took the course and it helped you personally. That's part of the point. And then you were able to turn around and help other people with the knowledge and training. And that's the other point. So you did it. You did good. And and people come to us at different points on their journey, if you will. Most people have a college education, or some college. They have a certificate or two in something helpful, some modality, whether it be nutrition or personal fitness or other similar type of things. So you came at a certain point where you had some burnout, and it helped you, and that alone is worth the price of admission, we think. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
When did FDN start? When did you start the program? It's a long time ago. Uh-oh. Oh no, Reed, I think
you
you're
are
muted.
Can you hit the unmute button?
Oh,
sorry about that. Yeah, so on the background part and the starting FDN part, it was quite an evolution. And because in the 90s, I was in environmental law and conservation, and I thought I was saving the whole planet. I was on a mission. I've always been very mission and purpose driven in my life, for the most part, making people happy and being helpful, helping. And so help and save the planet's good. But around the end of the last century, in the end of the 90s, I started wondering more about people. What about people? All these dead birds and fish and stuff. It's horrible. But I was in my 40s and I didn't want anything sneaking up on me. So I changed jobs and I went to work in a clinic. And oh my God, it was such an open, it was an alternative health clinic. And I just went in there to run the business. I was a good businessman. And but the owner invited me to take a nutrition class with her. She was getting her diplomat in nutritional therapy and said, hey, you could go and do this if you're interested. And who wouldn't jump on that? And also she said you could work on our patients between your classes. Now, who wouldn't jump on that, right? So I did, and I'll just sort of try to fast forward a little bit, but I wanted to tell you I started not knowing very much about it, but at the same time being really curious and enthusiastic and just really wanting to help and serve a purpose. And so in that clinic, I got every opportunity to do all those things. And what started FDN was the first observation I made was that everybody coming in the clinic was sick or downward spiraling in some way and had been to 8-10 other practitioners. And you guys know, you can go to you can feel really bad and go to somebody, Western medicine maybe, and they say, oh, nothing's wrong with you. Your blood work looks normal.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, well, then what? And I was just taking nutrition classes. I really didn't know much, but what I do in Southern California all the time is I ride my motorcycle in the mountains where I live. And man, I had to get the best chance to think and be clear on things. And I thought about the folks back at the clinic, said, man, I can't believe, number one, they're putting their health in someone else's hands instead of taking control. And I thought that was different. And I have to admit, I'd never really been to a doctor before, so I didn't know what they're going through. I'd been for some injuries, sports and things. But I just didn't get it. Why are you putting your health in? You've been to 10 practitioners and you're not better yet? That's a ripoff. Isn't that a ripoff? I mean, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And so I said, it's kind of crazy. I said, you know what? I'm going to be the last person these people need to see. I'm going to figure out what's really wrong with them. I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose or treat. And who wants to? They've already done that 10 times and it didn't work. So I went to work running labs. I just thank goodness that just I fell in. It was time and place and recognizing opportunities and jumping on this thing. Remember, I'm 70 now, so I was late 40s and started a new career. It's been amazing. But so here's the thing. I spent 10 years in that clinic running thousands of labs on thousands of people and making observations. And I had great mentorship, the labs, the scientists, the researchers, the physicians I knew who were open to things. The clinic was alternative, which later became complementary, which then became integrative, which then became functional medicine and personalized medicine and all these things. And it has not yet fully evolved. We could talk about that if you want. But I was just a guy in a right time and place to run all these labs and make observations. And then after about 10 years, I made some I figured some things out. I had a system of assessments and what's really wrong. What's really wrong here? And I came up with some terms and some strategies, and then without ever diagnosing or treating a specific medical condition, because I'm not licensed to do that. And this became kind of the foundation of the health coach mentality. He's like, we can do a lot of good. We don't need a license. And that involved all natural drug-free therapies. So today the course that we teach is fully accredited by the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. So, run labs, do all the assessments, apply the principles of health building. And at some point, everyone said, Reed, you should be teaching, you should be teaching, you should be teaching. And I didn't really want to. I only did what I did to make our clinic successful and have happy clients. But I was called, and I put on my first seminar in 2008. Again, after just about 10 years of doing, and I'd never named it. I was a nutritionist, nutritional therapist, was a personal trainer, I was a massage. I took all these certifications along the way and became one of those over certified people. But I had my own system, and man, I taught that first just kind of a workshop in 2008, and it frickin' took off. I mean, it just was, people were slurping it up with a spoon, licensed, non-licensed people, again, some college or a degree, even masters, some PhDs, some licensed people, chiropractors, acupuncturists, even a few DOs or MDs and others. But I just started teaching in 2008, and I had to call it something. So circling back to the original question, I came up with this name, functional, because it is very functional. It's also very foundational. The F could be, and then the D is diagnostic or data-driven. No medical diagnosis, never do that. And then nutrition, so functional diagnostic nutrition or foundational data-driven nutrition or nurturing. So I took this FDN concept, and it's just been amazing that the journey since then of the worldwide community we've developed and so on and so on. So that's FDN in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Such
I love the
powerful stuff.
interchangeable words there. It all makes a lot of sense. Data driven, nurturing. Yes.
Yeah.
All these things we do.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
because people kept asking me, hey, why'd you put diagnosis in the name if we're not allowed to give any diagnosis? I said, I don't know. It just seemed cool at the time. I had to name this weekend workshop, and now we're kind of stuck with it. But so since then, I've kind of massaged it a bit to, very foundational, data-driven, nurturing, but it's still FDN either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's powerful. Man, I can only imagine what you saw with thousands of labs over the years. It's so eye-opening to see that, and the
Yeah.
trends that you probably started to see. It's fascinating. And the listeners have heard my health journey a lot, but I'll tell you, Reed, in 2007, which is when I really crashed. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. Traditional medicine didn't know what was wrong because my labs were normal. I found a chiropractor who ran a 4-point salivary cortisol panel on me, and my cortisol was completely flatlined.
Yeah.
And that was just the first eye opening of traditional medicine that said I was normal, but there's other tests out there. And then that kind of took me down that path. But
yeah, that's really common. It's not normal and it shouldn't be, but those are the kind of things that discover or see along the way. I could tell you about a lady. This was early on. Remember, I came back from a motorcycle ride and said, I'm going to be the last person all these people need to see, which is nuts. I didn't know
good goal.
how, but I was determined, and I actually worked really hard. I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm one of the hardest working people you'd know. Excuse me. And so I had a lady come in early on, for instance. Now she was coming in for chiropractic, and I would walk the people back. We had a big place and a lot of treatment rooms, and I'd walk the patients back to the get their treatment, and I could tell she was really sad, down. Hey, I call her by first name. What's going on? Oh, I'm really just so frustrated today, Reed. I'm just so unhappy. Why? I'm always happy. And it's kind of a pain in the neck for people when they want to tell their sad story, but so I just have to hold back sometimes. And she said, I am just so frustrated with this extra 40 pounds that I'm carrying. And I'm about to say, well, what are we going to do about that? And she's like, and there's nothing I could do about it. She says, I'm on this medication for the hives, red blotches. And it makes me gain weight. And I'm about to, no, and I went to the doctor the other day, Reed, and it was just so frustrating. I told him that I was really frustrated with this extra weight because of the medication for the hives. And he said, according to her, he said, lady, you can be fat or you can have the hives. Take your pick.
Oh,
And now I'm looking at her going, wow, that really is sad, and then she says, and you know what? I told him that was very depressing. And he said, I'll be happy to write your prescription for antidepressants.
Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable.
Well,
it is believable, but it's very sad.
Yeah, again, I'm kind of just learning. I'm running lots of labs and things on people. She wasn't even my client, and I just said, I feel your pain, but why didn't you ever try to find out why you get the hives? What? Her head snapped around so hard, I thought she wouldn't need her chiropractic treatment that day. And and so skipping forward just a little bit, sent her home with a couple test kits and got the results and advised her. And she told me later, within 9 days of getting off certain foods and cleaning up some environmental things, within 9 days, she was off her medication. that she'd been on for 2 years and was told, be fat or have the hives take your pick. And
Wow.
yeah, she called her doctor and told her I'm off it because I found out why I get the hives. What a concept, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of discoveries and things that happened over and over and over again. By the way, in another week or so, she told me, Reed, I'm going to the gym and taking hot showers. I'm like, okay. She goes, no, you don't understand. I haven't worked out to a sweat or taken a hot shower in 2 years because even on the medication, I would get the hives.
Wow.
So you talk about an ultimate happy ending, you know, like she's losing weight now. Is it all these things went on? So I knew then I
Life
was on the right
changing.
track, and I just doubled down on running labs, running labs, running labs. Discovered a
Yeah.
system of a pattern that one would follow if they've tried everything, maybe even been told there's nothing wrong with you, or they have kind of an obscure diagnosis like years of chronic fatigue. Back then, the most popular thing, popular, was fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a lot of kids with ADD and ADHD and these kind of junkyard diagnoses. Not that they don't exist, there's legit. But man, to just throw everybody into that bucket and medicate them wasn't, we knew that wasn't right, right? You guys
Yeah.
you could see where I was coming from.
Yeah. Fibromyalgia, CFS, it's like you're just having all these symptoms and we don't know why. So we're just going to label it XYZ.
Yeah.
Right.
So you stop
You
asking
meet
questions.
exactly. You meet a certain criteria, you check off enough boxes. Oh, that's CFS. You check off a couple more. Oh, that's fibromyalgia, and on and on.
Yeah.
But people
Yeah.
with ordinary stuff, people with migraines, and again, kids are so joyful to work with, and they respond very quickly because their bodies are very anabolic. You know, they're growing. So you're in a natural anabolic, which means growing state. You know, by the time you hit 40, you're not anabolic naturally anymore. You're pretty much catabolic. You know,
Yeah.
you're
And a lot of years of probably not eating well and doing all the things wrong to make up for
And
some
probably
kids.
more rigid belief systems. I can imagine in this clinic, you just had so many people that had been told this binary way of thinking for so long. It's like out of our understanding that we are even allowed to ask why. And isn't that sort of the opening of the door to even begin to entertain these possibilities that there could be upstream things going on, right? Like we have to believe that there may be another answer.
Yes. I was talking to a physician once, way at the beginning or before all this, and I'd always been curious. I read a book when I was 19 called Healing Ourselves. So that's over 50 years ago. I read Healing Ourselves by Nobuo Muramoto. It's on my shelf to my left. It's all old and, you know, dog-eared and yellow pages now, but I still have it. And so I'd always kind of been into staying away from drugs and natural ways and things. So when my mom got put on thyroid back in the 90s, you know, I was talking to this guy. I said, hey, my mom's on thyroid now. Does she have to, you know, what's the deal? Can't she figure something out, like, and do something more natural? And the physician said, nope, she'll be on that the rest of her life. There's nothing you can do about it. And that kind of got my hackles up a bit. I was still in the environmental field then, but I was saying it doesn't sound right. You know, like we need to be more in control of our own lives. And so if you want, I mean, that would bring up the discussion of, is it genetics or is it epigenetics? You know, I'm sure you've had guests talk about, is it your genes? Partly, about 9%. Some people say less. The rest is all epigenetics. It's expression of the genes. And where do you go from? You can't change your parents or grandparents, you know, and you've got,
Yeah.
you know, 2 parents and 4 grandparents. Everyone does. And so, you know, you can't get away from that, but you can certainly live a certain way. It's the epigenetics that matter most. So FDN includes it's an epigenetic program. It's all about the environment, which, you know, is where I started in the whole thing. So it's a very natural progression for me. There's some things I wish I didn't do when I was younger. Now that I'm
yeah, I
old
do
and
want
wise.
to. I do want to pick your brain about that, but I would love to go into the general framework that you present with
Sure.
FDN, the D.R.E.S for Health Success. That acronym,
Oh, yeah.
I just think is the most foundational and the most powerful. And I'm assuming that came out of the clinic and seeing these really foundational imbalances. Can you talk about D.R.E.S?
Yeah, Lauren, that's amazing. Thank you for bringing that up, because that is kind of one of our claims to fame. We have two sort of steps. Well, there's three, but so the first step is always to do the investigational work. You are looking for the hidden, HIDDEN, hidden stressors and contributors to metabolic chaos. So we don't have a medical diagnosis. There's chaos, and there's all these causal factors, and they're all working at the same time. They're all creating downward spirals, and they're all having an effect on each other. And you hardly hear that anywhere. Listeners, I'm going to say it again. All these causal factors, not only are they there creating downward spirals in health, function, balance, whatever, they're having an effect on each other, which is in some cases not even measurable, not singly measurable. And that's coming from a guy who has run a few labs. And I've been teaching a course in lab work since 2008. So I'm telling you, you can't measure everything with a test, but you can extrapolate. You can look at it. If you have a system of observation, it's really a construct. So it's the hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system. You can throw some other things in there, but that HIDDE and investigation. We run labs, saliva, urine, blood, stool, some questionnaires and things, and we assess, and we make a call. Oh, here's what it looks like is really wrong with you. You forget the diagnosis, it's medical. There's stuff going on upstream, and we sort that out by making these observations of healing opportunities. So we identify as many healing opportunities as possible with the labs at hand. And really, that hasn't evolved fully yet either. But then what? Well, now you can design that epigenetic program for that one individual. Everybody's a study of one. There's no cohorts in FDN. It's about you, because you're unique, and don't need to go into that too much. Then, once you've assessed, you can apply the principles of health building through lifestyle. And it is, you said D.R.E.S for health success. So that stands for diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation, D.R.E.S.S. If it isn't diet and rest and exercise or supplementation, it falls under stress reduction. That could be the way you think. That could be radiation. That could be you hate your neighbors. It could be a lot of things, which is mind stuff. Spiritual, psychospiritual, all the existential things. All of that.
It's a big category.
The biochemical stressors. The stressors I have are mostly physical pain from a well-used body, but it's all stress. So D.R.E.S.S, I think actually your listeners can get a free copy of our D.R.E.S for Health Success guidebook if they follow up on your show notes. But
excellent, great,
so HIDDEN, hidden stressors and contributors to metabolic chaos. You sort it out. You're sorting out metabolic chaos in a methodical and proper way using science, saliva, urine, blood, stool, then applying the principles to you as a unique individual. We don't treat the paper, which is what a lot of people will say. Well, I already ran a test, and oh yeah, they said I had this and that. Well, what do you do about it? Well, I took something. They're always about what agent, what dosage, what frequency, what duration for that agent of, and they're really not considering all the other things that are epigenetic forces. So not going off too much in that, but so once step one is to assess, run the labs, get clinical correlation with the person, has to be applied to them. And it tells most people they're so happy because we're finally explaining why you feel so crappy. But someone else said there's nothing wrong with you, or here's your one diagnosis. And then 3 would be the health coaching process, which is why health coaches is one of the fastest growing sort of jobs or, industries or vocations that there is.
Needed. Yeah.
Growing fast because one thing I can guarantee is you're never going to run out of customers. The world,
That is true.
you're never going to run out of customers if you just know how to sort them out, find the ones that are right for you. So I do a lot of business consulting as well, but my claim to fame is FDN, which is the system of labs, the system of applying principles of health building, and then working with someone for a while. So D.R.E.S. came out of, I'll just finish with this. I'm in the office and people like that lady I told you about, and I could give you another 10 stories right off the top of my head. And I would say, you're coming in the office regular, you're a good patient, you show up and you're on time and you come back and you get your treatments, everything. But what are you doing at home? What are you doing at home? That's the most important consideration is what's your home. So they said, what do you mean? What can I do? And I, like most chiropractic assistants and personal trainers, and I would give them exercising and stretching, but then so there's that, and then it became, well, what about your sleep? What about all these other things? And diet, because I was in nutrition, was huge. And I found out real quick, not everyone reacts the same way to the Atkins diet, which was the most popular diet in 2000, 2001. It was a rage, and it worked for me because I'm a protein guy. But man, I gave the book to some of our patients, and they tried it and they hated it. It either did no good at all or made them worse. So now what the hell do I do? So I had to sort out the whole diet thing, finding the right one for a person, for each. Everyone's a study of one. There's one diet that's going to work for you. And it might not even be your brother's or sister's or mother's diet. Nope. Anyway, so the whole D.R.E.S.S thing came from trying to coach people up on what they could do at home and be in charge of themselves.
Yeah, the bio individual component is so important. So what are some of the top things people should be doing at home? Maybe even before they do lab testing, like what foundational things can people start right away?
Well, usually people wait till the end, ask me for my secret, but I get up every day, try to have the best attitude I possibly can. I think setting your state of mind is really critical, and being a very high tone person, enthusiasm about something. So for me, that's having a purpose in life. You get up every day and you think your purpose is to
go to work,
whatever, like something else. No, it's got to have meaning for me. And I find most people are happier when they have a purpose. But then you're going to eat breakfast. Well, that matters. That's the diet. However often you eat, whether you're doing time restricted eating or all the different things, fasting. We can talk about diet. But you should wake up well rested. So diet, rest. Exercise goes without saying these days. Sitting is the new smoking, and but there's no one exercise program that's right for every single person. I certainly can't exercise. That's how I damaged my body, was going to kickboxing and these other things. And I'm looking at a hip that's arthritic and torn labrum. So it's from kickboxing. It isn't that I fell and hurt myself, although I've done that too. But being careful with your body. You can't do this certain exercise you can actually overdo. So diet, rest, exercise, the right exercise, and then that stress reduction is huge. It comes in again the mental, emotional, the chemical and biochemical stressors of the planet and the filthy world we live in, polluted and toxic, and it's in our food and air and water, and so stress reduction is important, whether it be that mental, emotional. Me, I pray, I get up in the morning, try to find a way to be on purpose, and then lastly is that trauma. Again, the injuries that a body takes. You could have fallen off a swing when you're 6. And the downward spiral that that created could still be there when you're 56 or 36, you know. And so even birth trauma is really important. So, you know, the way you come out, that could matter long term. You want to hear the weirdest thing about stress and stress reduction?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes, we
The
do.
stress doesn't even have to be there anymore.
Mm.
So, you know, people always say, I'm looking for the root cause, looking for the root cause. Well, good. It might not even exist anymore. So you could be really looking for a long time for that one. It's just that the downward spiral that it created is still in play. And so there's a study just came out of the University of California, San Diego, where I live, that kind of proved that. We kind of always knew it, but it's scientific. There's things like that, the polyvagal theory and other things that are worth looking up. And I gave up root cause, saying it. Never gave up looking for it. Gave up saying it because it's just metabolic chaos. There isn't one root cause. And as I said earlier, they're crashing into each other. You know, the picture I do in my slides is I have a clear pond, body of water, anything. And you say you chuck 6 or 8 big stones up in the air, and they spread out, and each one creates a ring. Well, yeah, if you could find that one stone in that ring, you know, that's a downward spiral in your body, an imbalance that is going to keep going. But what happens is the water soon becomes just this unrecognizable, chaotic, the ripples all run into each other. And what do you have? You have a pool that's not smooth anymore. It's really rough, just all looking all chaotic. And that's why I don't look for one root cause anymore. I just sort out metabolic chaos with a system of lab investigations. And so the last S is supplements. And I've designed a few, but mostly there's some really good products out there.
There's a lot of supplements out there. Lots.
Yeah, and you could spend show after show on different strategies. And so rather than the specific ones or brands, you know, I enjoy the strategy of supplementation. Along with diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation, then it's sort of a superpower that you can overlay on top of your other good habits. And I can't tell you how many people I had in the office, and I had a whiteboard next to me all the time, always just showing them stuff. D.R.E.S.S. So first, you know, I show some in their labs and they go, what should I take? Well, let's take a look at your diet. Let's take a look at how you sleep. Let's take a look. Let's take your wife out to dinner. Let's take, you know, whatever. Take a hike if you don't want to listen, because if you just want to take supplements and you think you're going to supplement your way out of all these other bad behaviors, it's very unlikely. As much as they're good stuff, powerful, lots of research and everything, you can't supplement your way out of it. So the strategy is with supplements. They call it the 4 S's of supplementation. There certainly is substituting for what's missing in food. You know, so you have food that's grown in hot houses. It's grown in soils that are totally depleted and these things. So it's missing its vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, antioxidants, phytonutrients, trace elements. All those things need to be in food, and we should get it from food, but it's just not there anymore. So the first S of supplements is substitution for what's missing. Then, well, people aren't showing up saying, I want to substitute for what's missing in my food. They're saying, I feel like crap. I feel this. So there's kind of support. The other next is support for your adrenals, support for your immune system. And there's another S that applies, stimulation of the immune system. For instance, if you're getting on a plane, heaven knows you should probably take something to stimulate your immune system. There's going to be people on there. My last trip was at Thanksgiving to go see my mom in Florida. And man, coming back, it was ringing in my ears, all this, sniffling and coughing and sneezing and stuff. And I just thought,
The
holy
orchestra
crap,
of sick.
yeah. So
Yeah.
there's the substitution was missing, support for certain organs, stimulation. Support could be too of something like your digestion. If you've over time kind of lost the enzymes and the HCl and the things needed to break down food, and you could support digestion, you could support your liver, you could support all these things. And the last S in the 4S's is self-treatment. So we find that a lot of the labs we run identify things that a lot of times we'll just refer people to a physician for treatment. So treatment is treatment. I'm talking about parasites and bacteria and fungal overgrowth, I think. So, but could you self-treat if you wanted to? Yes. And depending on the situation, it might be very appropriate. Sometimes you should go see a doctor, of course. They're there for the really serious infections and things, and they're very effective and very helpful. And we work with doctors all the time on treatment, but generally self-treatment is less toxic and preferred by most of our sort of natural seeking customers or clients. So
Yeah.
you
I
have,
like that.
yeah, you have substitution for what's missing, support of organs and systems. You have stimulation of certain systems, and you have just plain old self-treatment, and
Yeah.
it's really an effective strategy. So I did all that without going into ingredients and brands and this and that. Just have a good strategy in place first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the strategy is so important because that's what's educating and empowering our clients to understand the why, right? Coming back to the why. I think we are a little all as humans wired for a quick fix, even when we know that's not the way, right? Like our bodies just intuitively kind of want that. But I find the education makes the world of a difference, right? When a client says, just give me something to help me, it's like, okay, maybe we can take that route, but you need to understand why. Otherwise, you're not going to be compliant. 2, you may start searching for other solutions. 3, there may be something contraindicated there. We have to get people to understand the why. And I think the lab test really kind of fits that bill of creating that context of the why and understanding all the systems.
Yes. So you have identified healing opportunities. Well, here's what needs to be fixed, rebalanced and repaired and restored function too. And then the supplements will play a part in it, but they won't be the entire program. Not in my world. And so yeah, and it's outperformed every other system we've looked at so far. Again, unless here's where people say, well, where do doctors fit in? They fit in when the downward spiral is contracted to where the observations I make can't be capitalized on. So the body takes time to heal, right? So the observations we make are about what needs to be healed. And so that's going to require some length of time. That's where the whole health coaching period comes in. Once you assess and sort it all out, and here's a plan, here's your strategy, and here's your plan moving forward. You need that time. So why would you go to a doctor? Well, when that downward spiral is really contracted, like you get off a plane from West Africa and your temperature's 105 and you're bleeding from your eyeballs, you're not going to call your nutritionist.
No, we don't have 6 months of health coaching to.
You're going to go to the
Please
emergency
don't.
room.
Please don't.
Yeah. So please never, it really should fit like this. There's what we do, our backyard, and then there's what they do, their backyard. And there's really a good integration of those if people learn how to be in charge themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We agree with that.
Yeah. I'm just thinking the number of times I've had clients come in with grocery bags full of supplements. It's just crazy. So I love your layout of how we should be supplementing. I think that's priceless for people.
I feel like that's a root cause. Just to come back to the root cause for a moment, like we believe there's root causes, but And maybe that initial root cause is gone, but a lot of times there's still a root cause of mindset getting in the way. And that comes into play with these clients that have bags of supplements where they're still looking for a solution, but there's a mindset block here. It's almost like they don't want to get better, or they don't want to do the hard work, or they don't have the patience. I think that's kind of a big category, but.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I mean, I'm looking at my desk below my screen here that I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 17 different supplements on my desk in front of me right now. In my kitchen, because I work out of the house, the beauty of our work is you can work from home.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's beautiful. You know, during COVID, we said, what do you mean? We already work from home. You can't send us home. And by the way, geographically, anywhere that there's internet, so I could be in Cabo right now, you wouldn't know. It just
maybe you are, yeah.
I love the virtual backgrounds in the same way.
Yeah, so so you know, it's really a lot of freedom in how we operate, what we do. But in the kitchen over there, I've got another like 5 times that many. And hopefully they're somewhat categorized. Again, the supportive things, the stimulating things, you know, even right now, I mean, everyone can get sick, you know.
Yeah. And I think in having access to all those supplements and knowing when to bring them in and when to take them back out and when to cycle them, you're not taking 100 things every day, although I have 100 things in my pantry.
Yeah, I got my limits.
Yeah.
And they're personalized, right? You didn't listen to a famous podcaster that talked about this is going to prolong your life. You've done the work in the labs and you know your body intimately. So for someone maybe that is still brand new to this process, let's explain the labs. How does that go in terms of identifying the opportunities? What can someone gain from these more functional labs?
So, well, we look at hormones, and you need to be in catabolic anabolic balance first. That's your cortisol on one hand and your DHEA on another. Now they need to be in balance. If they're out of balance, you're probably feeling it somewhere. You know, if you're catabolic, your body's breaking down. If anabolic is high, you're breaking down, but you're also building up. So we get out of balance, we get more catabolic. Well, the first thing to go after that's your sex hormones. You know, they're right there with them, and we measure them all at the same time. Why not? And anything else we can measure through saliva. We also have a wet urine and a dried urine, and there's blood testing for all this. But we look at that basic hormone, foundational, catabolic, anabolic, the sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and so on. So if they're out of balance, what? Find the stressors, what's throwing it out of balance, and correct your lifestyle. You know, we sometimes just say, get your act together. That'll go away. Now, women go through more cycles than men, but men have their cycles too. And all that comes into play. There's a daily circadian rhythm. There's a monthly lunar cycle. There's yearly and seasonal cycles. So we're aware of these things as we look at hormones. Also, age matters. I was at a store the other day and just talking to some old geezer like me, but he was an older geezer. So I'm just playing around, you know. I said, yeah, I'm in the health space, you know, and blah blah. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, I've heard 70's the new 50. He goes, let me tell you, 80's 80.
Oh no.
So I had to laugh. He was about 85. He owned an antique store, and you know, whatever. So I'm just saying age does matter eventually.
Yeah.
And you have to be more vigilant. You can get away with a lot of things with youth. And again, some of it, I kind of, a few things I would change for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to share those things other than the maybe kickboxing, the repetitive chronic movement that you were doing? What else could you go back and maybe adjust?
Probably recreational things that I don't really want to say, but you know,
Got it.
Yeah. I'm a child of the 60's, and we were hippies. I want to tell you, we were total hippies, and we're kind of the say middle class hippies, but but yeah, definitely a lot of recreational activity that where I lost a lot of sleep and didn't know where I was the next day and things like that. So all that's in the way past. I don't know what damage that did, other than that. Maybe I don't know. Imagine if I hadn't done all that though, because pretty healthy and pretty sharp, good genes. So if I'd have behaved better, more responsibly and less risky, I probably might be even. I'm pretty happy, but you never know.
You never know.
You always
what the
wonder,
potential-
how high can the ceiling go?
Yeah, so that raises the question of genetic potential. And that's all you can hope for, genetic potential. I'm 5'9", I weigh about a little over 200 pounds. So I'll never be a professional basketball player. Like that's not in my genetic potential. But I can be a really, really good, I still wake surf and things like that with my son, who has a wake surfing boat, and stay really active. I ride a motorcycle all the time. I have 5 acres of property. I'm always moving heavy rocks and doing things. I'm being very careful these days, but so I'll say that the motorcycle, I've had a few spills. I went down at 75 miles an hour once, flew through the air like Superman, and just thank God I was okay. I landed in some soft dirt, and I got scraped up, and there's an accumulation of these things. I've crashed another time going around a corner and injured a shoulder that still gives me problems. I've had stem cells, and I've had both shoulders, my neck, my mid back, low back, and left knee all stem cell inject. I'm investing in my body now to try to make it last. And you sort of spent the last 25 years helping other people, focusing a little bit more now on myself, and realizing, I guess I could have taken better care of myself. That's all I want to say.
It is. I mean, health is an investment. That's great. You're doing that for yourself. We all need to be doing that. And maybe you can speak to the importance of people seeing health as an investment, because I still hear it all the time. I can't afford to be healthy. I can't afford to do that. I can't afford the labs.
What
So
you
what
really
would you
can't
say to
afford is
that?
to be sick. You can't afford to be sick. You can't afford to be in a downward spiral that you don't know how low it's going to go. This is another good thing about physicians, is they do study disease. So they know where this could land. If you have a little high blood pressure now, you think, I'll do some breathing exercise. Well, physicians will say the reason they recommend medication is because they don't want you having renal hypertension and damage to your kidneys and things like that. So they study how bad it can get. And that could be helpful, knowing, atherosclerosis and all these things that there's actually very early warning signs of. So, we can take better care of ourselves. Education helps, and having a pattern to follow, having something to follow. That's why so many moms, by the way, take our course. We don't have prerequisites like, oh, you have to be college degreed or something. No, anyone can take our course in functional lab work and all natural protocols, because it's for the people, kind of by the people.
Right.
And we teach the anatomy, the physiology, the biochemistry. It's college level, but it's still the way I teach it makes it pretty simple. And I have a good time doing it. And everybody will attest to that.
Yeah, that's the most important, to have a little
It's full
fun
of
when
dad
we
jokes.
learn.
It's full of dad jokes if you could stand them.
Oh, I love a good dad joke.
Oh, me too. The world is a better place with dad jokes.
I keep my dad jokes in a database.
Oh, that
gets applause, Reed. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right. To our dad, hey, are you listening? You got to write that one down.
Yes. Our dad, we call him the OG biohacker. He has plenty of dad jokes.
Yeah,
I think you guys would get along.
We got him a t-shirt with, it had the symbol for argon, so AR, and it said, sorry, no more dad jokes. They're argon.
Oh man.
This is bad.
Yeah, good one. Oh,
We're gonna send that to you.
Yeah.
It-
Well,
they're
I would,
pretty. Mhm.
Reed, if you could share just a little bit more about the program in this, for the sake that I think we have a lot of people listening that maybe are practitioners or they want to become practitioners. What does the program look like? How long is it?
Yeah,
And how
well,
intense for people?
first of all, I thank you for the opportunity just to be here and share. And I hope people are walking away with something useful, even if it's just that there are a lot of underlying causes and you could work on them all at once if you have the right epigenetic outlook and plan. The D.R.E.S.S doesn't treat anything specifically. It treats everything non-specifically. Every cell, tissue, organ, and system is uplifted and improved. And sometimes that means whatever you thought you had, it just goes away because you heal yourself out of whatever you wanted to call that thing. And so,
Yeah.
but basically the FDN course is something, it took me 10 years to learn and recognize all these patterns. And I can teach you in 10 months what it took me 10 years to learn. And that's the average length of time is right now it's 9.3. We boast about an 83% graduation rate. And anyone could do this. This is for the people. This is so that you, the health consumer, everything, we're all just kind of trying to make it, and if you want control, you want information that's useful. And it's a robust program. I won't hide that fact that it's heady, it's anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, but it's college level, but again, I teach it in a fun way. So you'll learn all the labs, saliva, urine, blood, stool, and what's behind them so that you can assess yourself first. And you will run the labs on yourself. And that alone, Lauren, you're a grad, was that worth the price of admission? Just doing it
That
on
alone,
yourself?
even if I never did health coaching, like me just learning that about my body was, yes, absolutely worth it.
Right. So if you turn it around and just work with your family, that's about it. Now, well, then you could also become a health entrepreneur or get a job. It's a vocation. But some people, it's an avocation. So if you just want to be a really good hobby, it's there. But if you want to make a living doing this high level health coaching, then this is the program. Again, it depends where you are in your journey. If you have some college and a couple certs and you're helping people already, hey, this will up level you. You'll make more money, you'll have more free time, you'll have more geographical freedom. You won't have to go into a job anymore and things like that. There's some financial freedom aspects to it. Certainly emotional freedom because it's so rewarding. And I told you a story about the lady with the hives. How do you think that my head's on clouds, for weeks. I really helped her, and I got other stories like that with kids. Just real quickly, I had a principal call me of a school. They've been trying to send this kid home for bad behavior, poking around and not paying attention. And I worked with the mom and the kid for just a really short period of time. And the principal tracked me down through the mom and said, hey, Mr. Davis, this is a different child. He's behaving. He's not poking the other kids and outbursting and all that ADD stuff. This is the principal who was sending him home unless you drug him. But here's what he said to me. He's a different kid. And that was exciting and full of promise. But then he said, what'd you put him on? As if it was just some magic in a bottle. And that just kind of, but anyway, the fact that we got this sort of recognition, we saved the kid from being on drugs. That's so rewarding. So you got the health, your own health freedom, your time freedom, your geographical freedom, your emotional freedom, some financial freedom if that's what you want. You could do very well for yourself. I did. And that's what I teach in my course is health entrepreneurship as well. So all that in 10 months for less than $10,000. I've had people with master's degrees and higher say, man, I could have saved 2 years and 100 grand
Mm,
by
yeah.
taking the course and being able to
Yeah.
apply every single bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what
it's
else
the
would you like
systems,
to
the
know?
strategy, and the lab testing is such an invaluable tool that a lot of health coaches don't have. So I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. And the fact that it's self-paced at home, I think it took me just under 12 months, but I was working 2 other jobs at the time. So it's possible to do that. And then I
Yeah.
had a former client, now friend, that when I sent her to the program, I think she did it in 3 months. I was like,
Yep,
you're
it's possible. It's
kind of a freak of
self-paced.
nature, but it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn quick. It's self-paced and it does take time to get the labs done on yourself. And we have
She
checks
just
and
blew through.
balances. I have
Yeah.
a course supervisor, about 10 mentors working in that area to get you through. And there's quizzes and exams and things. It's a legitimate certificate. We're accredited by 4 or 5 different agencies or bodies, including that American Association of Drugless Practitioners. I'll just look, the American Natural Wellness Coaches Board, the American Association of Natural Wellness Practitioners, and a bunch of others over there under my wall that have approved the course. And it's legit. It's legit. It's work. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love what you said. Something that stuck out in my mind is the hobby. Like, I think learning about your body and how to optimize your health, it could be one of the greatest hobbies. Like, everyone should take advantage of that. And then, like you said, then you can help your family. Then if you want to do clients, but just do it, even if you just do it for yourself.
It's worth the price of admission, as I've said, if you do it for yourself. But the real purpose, back in 2008, why did I start teaching? Because everyone convinced me that, Reed, you're doing a great job, but how many people can you see in your office in Southern California? Not that many. I mean, a lot. I had over 10,000 clients in 10 years, but what if I deputized others to do this? Well, now we have 4,000 people that I've trained. So it's really expanding the mission. So the avocation, hobby aspect is great, but we're turning people into professional FDN practitioners, and it's finding its way. It's got a life of its own. It will survive me. I'm going to be around for a while. I'm not going anywhere. But even beyond that, there's lots of the young lions and lionesses who are taking over. And I'm really proud of it, really happy with what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you so much for what you've created. And specifically just the geographical freedom was so huge for me because I live in New York. You know how difficult some lab testing is in New York. So I used to only see people one-on-one in person, and now it's all over the world. And it really is, we're helping more people. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, you're more than welcome. I do it for the purpose, and you're part of the joy in the mission.
Yeah. Thank you. Before we wrap up, we would love to ask you for a final piece of advice. If you could give our audience just a nugget of wisdom, something they could start doing today to improve their health, what would that one thing be?
It might be cliche, but say that you start every day in a state of gratitude and thankfulness, because no matter where you're at, you could always be worse, so you start with what you have, not what you have not or not have. So I do that. I'm thankful for everything. My wife, my I have a son. I have the business. I have great staff, amazing staff, and lots of resources to do some good in the world, have a great purpose. And that's enough to get me out of bed every day and being happy.
That's great.
So yeah, point of view.
Gratitude can't be overlooked.
Yeah. Ben Azadi?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So if you haven't interviewed him on your show, he'd be a great guest. Ben is an FDN.
We've had him twice. Have we had him twice? Once.
I think we only had him once, but you know what? It's probably been almost 2 years.
Probably time for another Ben Azadi.
Yeah. He's always up for a good interview. He calls it vitamin G.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of that's his sort of handle, you know, vitamin.
Yeah, we have the vitamin G, and our friend Freddie has vitamin J for joy. So yeah, we're expanding the vitamin catalog. Good.
Yeah, I know Freddie too.
great.
He's got that device with the magnetic vibration.
So it was working for Amp Coil, now Flow Presso.
M-Coil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Oh yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so
Thank
much. We will
you.
put all of the links to FDN and the free guidebook. Thank you for sharing that, and access to the course in the show notes. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Yeah, free. There's a free Dress for Health Success manual at fdntraining.com/biohacker-babes in honor of you guys. We'll give all of your listeners who go there a free Dress for Health Success guide. It's about a 25-page ebook. It's really easy to read, and it outlines all the principles we talked about today.
Perfect. We really appreciate that.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. And thanks to everyone that tuned in today. We will see you next time.